welcome back to the Justice for Aaron Brady campaign. First of all, I'd like to say a very special thank you to all the people who have continued to support Aaron's campaign. Big thank you to all those people who have subscribed on the YouTube channel, and obviously a thank you to all those people who have liked, commented and shared on all the platforms. So once again, from all of us, all Aaron's family, thank you for that, and on behalf of Aaron, thank you for your support. As you are fully aware, we are sort of covering and straddling two aspects of the case at the moment. Some of the time CCTV footage that was commented on during the recent trial in the SCC, and we're also still want to really focus on and bring to the fore the serious coercion and collusion by senior members of An Garda Síochána with people with serious immigration issues and criminal records in New York. So to that end, I did say we're going to focus in on Christopher Morton, whom we believe was instrumental on trying to bring people forward to give false statements against Aaron in the hope of getting a share of, or all of, $100,000 was put up as a reward for information and green cards. So want to really focus in on that and show you, the Irish public, and make it aware to the public of exactly what was going on. So we have Christopher Morton, his first cousin Anthony McGuire, and obviously Daniel Cahill. So we have the look at this trio and the interactions between those three people and their interactions with the authorities. Now, we are going to have to make a number of videos about this, and a lot of it, I'm afraid, will be repetitive to try and put the layers on top of the layers to show a full and clear picture. So the first thing we're going to do is just have a look at the Anthony McGuire situation. So I'll just bring this up on the screen here now. And you can see a County Down man extradited from the US appears in court on drugs charges. So we've mentioned this before about the drug charges Anthony McGuire left behind him when he went to New York in 2015. So we're just going to read a little bit from the article, bring it up there. County Down man appears in County Down man extradited from the US appears in court on drug charges. And as you can see, this is from the 17th of January this year, 2023. So a County Down man appeared in court today to face drugs charges after being extradited from the US. Armagh Magistrates Court, sitting in Newry, heard that the 32-year-old Anthony Gerard McGuire had spent 4 months in a high-security prison in New York while extradition proceedings were dealt with. A bench warrant was issued for Mr McGuire from Bernard Park, Levy, when he failed to appear in court in 2015 to answer his bail in relation to 8 drugs offences. McGuire faces 3 counts of having cocaine with intent to supply, 3 counts of simple possession of Class A drugs, possessing cannabis with intent, and simple possession of a Class B drug. All of the offences are alleged to have been committed on the 4th of November 2013. So there we have. We have covered this on numerous occasions, that someone who gave a statement, a false statement, we say, against Aaron, had serious criminal charges waiting in Northern Ireland for him. And indeed, I just will remind you, the public, again, after Anthony Gerard McGuire left Ireland, absconded before his court case in 2015, shots were fired into his house and his car at his home here in Mike in Northern Ireland. So obviously, on the grounds of that happening, we would suggest that Anthony Gerard McGuire would not be in a position where he would welcome being deported back to his native Northern Ireland. So obviously he has issues to deal with there, and as far as we are concerned and what we know from family and friends, those issues are still live in respect of Mr McGuire's bills to those people who deal in narcotics. So we're going to move on now, and what we're going to look at is, obviously we have seen there that Anthony Gerard McGuire was extradited on the 17th of January, and that's when he was in court this year. And then all of a sudden, bang, the curtain went down on the media coverage. Mr. McGuire appeared in court on a number of occasions, just for mention, and then finally appeared on the 29th of June in the Crown Court in Newry. Now, I'm just going to read through the verdict and the sentencing on that day. There's just a few just to run through. Just make sure I have the first one here now. Yeah, there we go, up on the screen. And obviously you can see that's the case number, I assume. We have Anthony Gerard McGuire, possession of Class A drug with intent to supply, and that's the Misuse of Drugs Act in 1971. He pleaded guilty, and the verdict, he was convicted. Now, the court imprisonment or detention determined it. Now, the court having taken into account the defendant's early plea of guilty. Now, you'll see this with all the charges, and it's something we're getting very hard to understand. I'm sure it may be just a legal aspect, but it's something that doesn't sit very well with us. The court having taken into account the defendant's early plea of guilty. These offences occurred 10 years ago. The defendant absconded to America. The defendant had to be extradited from America. So the early plea of guilty, where the magistrate or the judge got that from, I'm not 100% sure that it holds any water, shall we say. But you will see this throughout the sentencing of each of the individual charges. And again, we find it very strange, but it does, the whole case itself and the sentencing and what happens thereafter gets even stranger. So that's the first count. So the defendant was sentenced as follows. Total sentence of 1 year, 4 months. Determinate custodial sentence, a period of 8 months, and licence period of 8 months. So I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of these. Possession of Class A drug with intent to supply, misuse, verdict convicted, imprisonment, detention, determinate. The court haven't taken into account the defendant's early plea of guilty. We're going to keep repeating that because we find that very hard to understand. And the custodial sentence is a period of 8 months, licence period of 8 months. Now that runs concurrent with count 1. I haven't repeated that slide there. That is a new slide. And we're going to move on now to count number 3. Another possession of Class A drugs. He pleaded guilty, convicted. Again, we're looking at this court having taken into account the defendant's early plea of guilty, which we find strange, and the sentence 1 year, 4 months, 8 months custodial, and licence period of 8 months concurrent with count 1 and count 2. So we're going to move on now. Then there was a number of other charges. Just going to run through them quickly. So controlled drug, Class B controlled drug with intent to supply. He pleaded not guilty, and that was left on the books, so it wasn't dealt with. Possession of Class A controlled drugs, section 5.2 of the Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. He pleads not guilty to that, and that's left on the books. Class A controlled drugs, again, pleaded not guilty, and that's left on the books. Possession of Class A controlled drugs, not guilty, and that was left on the books. Possession of Class B controlled drugs section, that's Misuse of Drugs Act 1971. He pleaded guilty to that and was convicted. So on those, the court having taken into account the defendant's early plea of guilty once again. The defendant was sentenced as follows. So he was sentenced to 6 months for that, a custodial period of 6 months, and that ran concurrent with count 1. So in total, we can see that Mr. Morton was sentenced to 8 months custodial and 8 months on licence in total for the offences that happened back in November 2013. Now we have to remember, Anthony McGuire had £30,000 worth of cocaine, £30,000 worth in cash, marijuana and ammunition. So £30,000 worth of cocaine is a situation where a man is supplying, he's a drug dealer, supplying drugs either directly or indirectly to the young people in South Armagh, South Down. And his custodial sentence is 8 months. So again, it may very well be the usual or the norm. It doesn't seem very usual or normal to us that someone with such a large amount of drugs only gets 8 months in prison, particularly after having absconded and particularly after having to have been extradited from the United States of America. And then just a final charge we're going to have a look at here. There we go. Possession of ammunition in suspicious circumstances. So obviously that's Article 64(1) of the Firearms Northern Ireland Order 2004. He pleaded not guilty and the verdict was left on the books. So he has ammunition also, and that was left on the books. It wasn't dealt with for whatever reason. There's no explanation or whatever given for having ammunition. So obviously if someone is caught with a large amount of drugs and cash and ammunition, we can assume that the ammunition is not an ornament. So that is where we find ourselves with Mr. McGuire. And lo and behold, we find out, so this was on the 29th of June, this sentencing took place. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, it would appear that Mr. McGuire is safely ensconced back in the United States of America. Yes, he has been allowed back to the United States of America under licence, as far as we are aware at this moment in time, and from information from people close to the family and family friends. So, listen, it's very difficult to explain it, but irrespective of whether this is the norm or this is the usual thing that happens, we will see how the interaction with Mr. McGuire and Garda Síochána also lends to some very, very, very serious questions. So there we have the situation. Mr. McGuire committed the crimes on the 4th of November 2013. He failed to appear in court in Newry in 2015, so he absconded. And we know from the paperwork we've shown you that, and obviously because he was extradited, those charges were still live. So we moved then to the interactions of Mr. McGuire with Garda Síochána. And Mr. McGuire, on the 30th of November 2017, Christopher Morton, Anthony Gerard McGuire's first cousin, told Garda Síochána that his cousin had relevant information in the Adrian Donoghue murder investigation. So that was the first signal that Christopher Morton was preparing people and coaching them to give false evidence against Aaron Brady for the purpose of green cards and or cash rewards. So that was the first interaction when Morton told Detective Pat Marry and Detective Mark Phillips that he had a cousin that had similar information than he had. Now, he actually told, and Pat Marry is fully aware of this, he actually told Pat Marry that his cousin was with him in the bar the night Morton allegedly had an interaction with Aaron, and Aaron told him, yeah, I'm the man that shot the guard, what the fuck was it to you? And we know that's a total tissue of lies, Christopher Morton, because Aaron's sister and a number of Aaron's friends and the family from the wedding you were at have confirmed Aaron Brady was not in the Tombstone bar that night. You are a liar. But Anthony Gerard McGuire wouldn't go along with that, so that was sidelined. And Pat Marry and Bobby Ogle were fully aware of that, both detectives.
But on Garda Síochána persisted, and then we have a situation on the 1st of December where Anthony Gerard McGuire gave a statement to Detective Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern. And this is the 1st of December 2017. Anthony Gerard McGuire gave his first statement to Phillips and McGovern. Now, very interestingly, in that interview, he says, "I am living with my cousin Christopher Morton." Now, here we have a very quick situation. I know there's a lot of information, and this is why we're going to repeat this and break it down over quite a number of videos in the weeks ahead. Christopher is living with Anthony. Christopher allegedly heard this amazing words out of Aaron Brady's mouth. "Yeah, I'm the man that shot the guard. What the fuck was it to you?" Anthony's coming with a sort of a similar type of story. "Yeah, I have what it takes." A number of men having a conversation in a pub on St. Patrick's Day. Indeed, Anthony goes into the pub to change a cheque on St. Patrick's Day, and he's drinking water. Good man, Anthony. Well done. Very, very, very proud of you for that. And he hears boys talking about, "Have you got what it takes to kill someone?" So this is the story. These two first cousins are living together. They hear this remarkable admission from back home. Now, this is all within 5 or 6 miles where the Northern robbery took place, where Aaron Brady lives, and Mike, where McGuire and Morton are from. And they don't mention it to each other. Christopher doesn't tell his brothers. Christopher doesn't tell his family. Christopher doesn't tell his wife or his girlfriend. He had both at the time, according to his own statement. So he was running 2 women at that time. Anthony doesn't tell anyone. Anthony Gerard McGuire doesn't tell anyone. This amazing admission. So then on the 1st of December also, Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern take a picture of a scar on Anthony McGuire's face. And Anthony McGuire, during the course of a statement, said he had an altercation outside the pub with Aaron Brady, and Aaron Brady hit him and caused this scar. Well, as far as we are aware, Aaron did leave that scar on Anthony Gerard McGuire, because Anthony Gerard McGuire was one of the 4 men. So you had Anthony Gerard McGuire, Daniel Cahill, Davy Cushion, and Ed O'Keeran were the 4 men who attacked Aaron Brady on 1st Street, just off McLean Avenue in Woodlawn, New York. And after they attacked him in the house, Aaron actually went with a friend back to Daniel Cahill's home to get his work phone back. And this is the work phone Daniel Cahill knew nothing about on the testimony, but when he was questioned, lo and behold, he admitted to being an intermediary in the return of said phone. And at that time, when Aaron went to Daniel Cahill's home to get his phone back, Anthony McGuire made an advance and said something to Aaron, and Aaron hit him. Simple as that. So we do believe, can't be 100% sure, we know Mr. McGuire was hit on a number of occasions by other people, but that's neither here nor there. The scar may very well be from Aaron Brady. That may very well have happened. Then we move to another interaction Phillips and McGovern had with Anthony Gerard McGuire. And would you believe they'd done an interview in the back of an SUV on the street in Manhattan, I believe it was. And there's some dispute over whether this interview was recorded or not. There was a read back done also, so it's something we have to get more detail of, and may very well prove very, very important as we move forward in respect of appeal and retrial. So it's just to mention it. It's not particularly important at the moment, but may very well turn out to be so. Then, very, very importantly, we move to the 17th of May 2018. So we've moved on now to May 2018, and
Phillips and McGovern, Detective Phillips and Detective McGovern, speak with Anthony Gerard McGuire at his home, and Mark Phillips has told us, he signed off in a document where he tells us he discussed the PSNI details and situation with Anthony Gerard McGuire. So there can be no ambiguity whatsoever. Mark Phillips and Jim McGovern were prepared to do a deal with a drug dealer from Mike in County Down. Now, how anyone can explain this now is absolutely, I don't know what realms of Alice in Wonderland you'd want to go into here now. So you have two detectives in New York speaking to a criminal and an illegal immigrant. He's obviously an illegal immigrant because he was on the run when he entered America. Anthony Gerard McGuire was on the run when he entered America. Why did the PSNI and the Northern Ireland authorities, why did they not issue extradition proceedings immediately for that man? Why did Matt Katske, Homeland Security agent, why, along with an immigration removal officer, not take Anthony McGuire by the scruff of the neck out to the JFK airport and put him on the next available flight back to either London or Belfast? That is exactly what should have been done. But no, Phillips and McGovern were doing deals with criminals and people with extradition warrants. And we know that from Ronan, there was an extradition warrant made disappear. So this is not, none of this is isolated. And all of this is vital in building up the story that shows that McGovern, Phillips, Pat Marry and Bobby Ogle, Paul Gill, these detectives were in America searching for people that could be compromised and forced to give false statements. And it is correlated by these people themselves through the digging of Aaron's legal team and finding relevant papers. Now, we also have a situation where Anthony Gerard McGuire went to his lawyer in New York. He created correspondence that was in association with his lawyer in New York. That correspondence was sent to the authorities here in Ireland, to An Garda Síochána and the DPP. And that correspondence said, I, Anthony Gerard McGuire, no longer wish to have anything to do with the Aaron Brady case because I was put under duress by the Irish authorities to make a statement. And we have a situation where Brendan Grehan had to stand up in court, in open court, and take the flak and take the pressure of Mark Phillips. And senior counsel for the prosecution and working for the DPP, Brendan Grehan, told the court that he made a mistake. He didn't think it was relevant. A letter from a man in America saying he was put under duress to make statements, and Brendan Grehan thinks that's not relevant on the face of a situation where we had a special agent, Matt Katske, going around offering green cards and money and all sorts of inducements to anyone who would give false statements against Aaron Brady. So Brendan Grehan was fully aware of what he was doing. He hid the letter from Aaron Brady's defence and took the flak when it was found and covered Mark Phillips's arse. So that's as simple as that. Mark Phillips forgot about the letter, which was a pity. It's a bit like he sort of forgot about the steroids that Daniel Cahill was caught with. So Mark Phillips has a couple of wee issues with little bits of forgetfulness. I sincerely hope it's not the beginning of dementia. Not for another year or so anyway, please. I hope that's the case. And but we would suggest it's more selective rather than medical. And the final thing is then on the 3rd of July 2018, McGovern
and Phillips go and meet Anthony Gerard McGuire again, and they serve him with a witness notice. So Anthony Gerard McGuire, caught with £30,000 worth of cocaine, caught with cash, caught with marijuana, and caught with ammunition. These two senior detectives believed that it was right and proper, and this man was a suitable witness in a capital murder case. So that is the scenario we find ourselves in with McGuire, Morton and Cahill. And you will see as we go through and the interaction between these three and their stories and their lies given in their statements, we will see quite clearly that it's manufactured and curated, and it has been facilitated by the DPP here in Ireland. It has been facilitated by Senior Councillor Brendan Grehan. It has been facilitated by Junior Councillor Lorcan Stain, and it has been facilitated by Pat Marry, Mark Phillips, Jim McGuire, Paul Gill, Bobby Ogle, and many other detectives on the periphery who went to extreme lengths of coercion and collusion and deceit to create a false conviction. A conviction that is totally unsafe. We know the circumstantial evidence is rubbish, it is complete nonsense, and I hope that this gives us some idea the depths of depravity these people steep to get a conviction that is totally and completely false, wrong. So we're going to have to go over this again on numerous occasions. We break it down into bite-sized pieces, the interaction with McGuire, with Phillips and McGuire, and then we'll bring in Pat Marry and Sinn Féin Councillor Antoin Waters, people whom McGuire and Morton, where they lived, with Antoin Waters, Sinn Féin Councillor, would have known there, as Pat Marry says in his podcast, Making Detective, the bona fides of these people. So if Pat Marry checked the bona fides of Morton with Sinn Féin Councillor Antoin Waters, he would have checked the bona fides of Anthony Gerard McGuire. So it looks like the Sinn Féin Councillor Antoin Waters is standing up, protecting and helping drug dealers in his local community to give false statements and get all sorts of inducements to improve their lives and save them from deportation to a situation where indeed I would suggest their lives would be in danger. There was shots fired into Anthony Gerard McGuire's house after he left for America. And as far as we are aware, those bills are still owed by Mr. McGuire. So that gives us some idea. I know it's a lot of information, and we will try and condense it into smaller bite-sized pieces over the next week or two. So thank you once again for joining. Please continue to like, comment and share. Please continue to subscribe. I suppose our aim now is to hit that 600 mark relatively quickly, and we'll continue to build on Aaron's base of those following this campaign. Thank you once again, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you.